my farmer, Tony Schultz.
Thanks, Mandy, in Middle Wisconsin. You got to keep up the good work. Tuesday's a big day for the Northwoods, Jim Holpernin, for the entire state of Wisconsin, and for our values, and it goes beyond Wisconsin, but we're a big example of the political struggles going on all over the country right now. I spoke at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I thought I'd bring a little fire and brimstone, but it's a kind of political event where I'm like splashing with my kid in the splash pad over there, and then we're flying a kite on the other side. So I'll make it a little more of a talk. Welcome to a day of politics and music. And the music is great, obviously, but I often hear people say, I don't want to get into the politics, or I don't want to deal with the politics, or don't make it political. Well, politics are yucky and divisive and can be bruising and confusing, of course. But politics are inevitable, because whether you think about them or not, whether you discuss them or dismiss them, whether you involve yourself or ignore them, politics affect your life. And they may be the most significant effect on our individual lives and our collective lives in the community. The struggle over who gets what when. Politics are inherently contentious because of that struggle, but they have an effect on all our lives at all times. And and the personal too, and the personal is political. The personal in our lives, we can't just ignore this. Everything is political. But this isn't what drives me to politics. It's not what drives my activism. What drives my activism is a question that I think about every day when I get up, and when I read the paper, or when I encounter the political nature of any situation. And that question is, what kind of world do we want to live in? What kind of world do we want to live in? And as a farmer, I'm involved in a lot of agricultural issues specifically. And so the way this question is presented to me often, right now with the state of agriculture in Wisconsin and the country, is, what kind of world do I want to live in? Do I want to live in a world where one factory farmer controls 3,000 cows and 50 people who are often denied the rights and benefits of citizenship and the dignity of citizenship, who treats their manure as a matter of disposal that pollutes a watershed and streams, and treats public roads as a personal stomping ground? Or do we want to have a different agricultural system? A system where 50 families control 60 cows. Just think about that little math. One person with 3,000 or 50 with 60 cows, where people treat their manure as a sustainable fertilizer, a manageable fertilizer, where people are helping their neighbors, where they're purchasing locally, we're invested in local economies and invested in local communities. It's that kind of economic democracy, that kind of broad-based and independent decision-making and interdependence that I have come to realize what I stand for. And so I see this picture presented to me, and we have to be engaged in politics, or the decisions will be made for us, and they're not going to be made in our interest. And so I ask and answer this question every day, but that's not even what drives my politics. What drives my politics is I view politics as the way to make the world a better place. Politics is hope. It's a way to make the world a better place. To me, politics is Martin Luther King when he said, "I have a dream, engage a struggle for racial equality in this country." To me, politics is Gandhi throwing off the shackles of British imperialism and saying, imperialism does ungodly acts in the name of God. To me, politics are the Lowell girls in Lowell, Massachusetts at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution who are dying at the average age of 26 in mills because they're breathing this cotton dust into their lung and suffocating to death. But they went on strike and they said to the factory owners, "Give us bread and give us roses too." To me, politics is Eugene Debs. He's a famous activist at the turn of the century and political organizer and presidential candidate. And he said, I think the most eloquent political thing you could possibly say when he said, "Where there is a lower class, I am in it. Where there is a criminal element, I am of it. Where there is a soul imprisoned, I am not free. That kind of statement of solidarity and egalitarianism and equality is what makes me hold out hope for a better world. So I am incredibly motivated by politics. They are an extension of our values, of our decency. That is politics. So be proud of your politics. There's been a lot of consciousness raised in the past couple months because of the governor's agenda. And that consciousness is working to our benefit. This would have never happened. We won 2 seats on Tuesday. That would have not happened if it weren't for the consciousness raised because of our politics. And there's never been a more important time in Wisconsin history to be engaged in politics, because there's a wrecking crew down in Madison. They want to tear down labor, they want to tear down public education, they want to tear down public health, they want to tear into the middle class, and it's short-sighted. And I think it's based on the values of punitiveness, exclusivity, and domination by the elite, not in the broad interest of the vast majority of the people of the state of Wisconsin. And that's the other good thing about being engaged in politics, from my standpoint anyway, is that we got a lot of friends. There are a lot of have-nots, you know? There are farmers, teachers, middle class and working class people, people who work for a wage. That's 99% of the population. We have so much in common with in this struggle. And it gives me a lot of hope if it can just be realized. It's going to be realized by each of us teaching one another, not getting involved in too much petty conversation with your neighbor that can be divisive, but keeping your eyes on the prize and engaging in that struggle on a daily basis. And so when you think about what kind of world you want to live in, keep your politics in mind, keep your values in mind, and those are the values of equality, of mutual benefit and support, of loving thy neighbor as thyself, and of solidarity. Thank you, Middle Wisconsin. Rock on. Tom wanted to come up and plug the vendors one more time. People all